Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis with I don't really know what to call this for a series of videos. It's just sort of a random video really. I've been doing a fair bit of reading on 40k lore in a while. Just reading up on some of the books I own. For example, I recently read Lords of Mars, which is the second series about the Adeptus Mechanicus, which is actually a very interesting series, and it got me thinking. And when I start thinking, you know there's a problem, I suppose. Anyway, the idea I had was Codex Mechanicus. And I've talked about this on Twitter before. I had a conversation with someone on Twitter about this. How we could create our own army for the Mechanicus. And it's been done. You go on Dakka Dakka and you search Mechanicus Codex, you'll probably find one, a fan-made codex, and some of them, whilst ranging from really basic, can actually be very, very good, with fluff and images and full army lists and full bestiaries, and they're awesome. And I suppose this is my 2 cents, because the last time I saw a Mechanicus Codex on Dakka proposed rules was probably over a year ago. Then again, I haven't used Dakka in a while, so there may have been another one made since. Anyway, the Mechanicus have a load of weird, wonderful, wacky things that you can do with them. For example, it isn't just tech priests and servitors that we see in all the other books, like the Tech Priest Agency, the Tech Marine, the Servitor, possibly maybe the vehicles. You can't just say, okay, let's have Tech Marine HQs and Tech Priests, Elites, and Servitors as troops. No. That's not how it works. They have so many different things you can do. Yes, you might have units of Servitors with Mindlock that you can attach Tech Priests to, or you might have Skitarii units as your troops, which I sort of consider to be on a par with Space Marines in terms of strength and toughness and weapon skill and ballistic skill. And you could upgrade them to have all sorts of weapons instead of maybe equipping them with bolt guns, as you might a tactical marine. You might say they have a power weapon as standard, but you pay a high price tax for that. And on top of that, you can then add in all sorts of weird Mechanicus inventions, from Mechatendril type things to plasma cutters to anything really. You've got so many options that you can give them. For example, a Skitarii Sergeant might have a melter pistol and one of the power axes that you see on Tech Marines, or those big axes with the cogs that look, for the teeth they have cogs and they look really cool. And you can do that. And that's just a really basic one. And then when you look at the HQ section and the Elite section, you can have the Magos, who is sort of like a basic, sort of the level above a Tech Priest, really. Possibly they'll have control over a forge or something like that. And then you have the Archmagos, who have control over forge worlds, or many forge worlds, or whole systems. And then you have the Fabricator General, who, I don't know if there are several Fabricator Generals, and then there's a High Fabricator General, who would be your Lord of War. Actually, Lord of War, Titans. Mechanicus ties to Titans. It's obvious that you could have Titans in this list as a Lord of War. Just a Warhound Titan. Or possibly a Land Leviathan. I'm not sure which is bigger. But you have so many options. You can have custom modded Rhinos or Razorbacks, because they have to do that to carry Skitarii. They have to modify the Rhino. You can take all sorts of things. Like in Lords of Mars, one of the Tech Priests rides his own sort of chariot thingy and wields a halberd. And he knows every fighting style. This guy would be a great sort of sergeant idea. Sort of like Justicar Thorn used to be for Grey Knights before he got kicked out. Or like Snikrot would be. He'd be a character upgrade to a squad that you could attach to Skitarii units to make them more melee orientated. In terms of elites or heavy support, you have the Thalaxi, who are part of the 30k Mechanicum range and probably still exist now. They're sort of like Servitors meets Skitarii meets steroids, I suppose. And they're really cool. You can have Archoflagellants, who have been bonded to the Tech Priest. You can have bondsmen who would fulfill a role like Chaos Cultists. These are guys who have been, I don't want to say enslaved to the Mechanicus, but they've sort of been bonded into service with the Mechanicus. You could even have them mind wiped to make them fearless as an upgrade. Or you take mind wiped squads, possibly with all sorts of badassness because they're not going to rebel because their minds have been wiped, as a heavy slot. Yeah, they'd be incredibly fragile, but who cares? You've got Thalaxi. Is that the name, Thalaxi? I'm not sure. And then you can have all sorts of the weird and wacky weapons, like the rapier platforms we used to see on the 30k Marines. The Ordo Reductor, which is sort of a part of the old Mechanicum, would be really cool. But, of course, this would not be a full codex. This would not have enough units to make a full codex. I hate to say it, but you'd probably get a couple of HQs, a couple of different troops, maybe one elite, one heavy, a fast unit like grab sleds as fast dedicated transports for small units like bondsmen, or for small squads as Skitarii. You could have, I'm trying to think of if there are any flyers. You could have recon drones, because that's another thing they use. They use drones. Obviously, they're not artificially intelligent drones. They're manually controlled drones. But you can have drones, possibly in a similar idea to Fenrisian wolves, or as units in their own right, scouting ahead and doing damage, or just doing recon like servo skulls might do, whatever you equip them to do. I don't think there are any flyers as such. You'd probably have to borrow them off the Imperial Guard or the Space Marines, but then again, all the Space Marines share anyway. And you've got every weapon under the sun, from the conversion beamer to the flamer to the plasma pistol to the servo harness to anything you can come up with. They've probably done it. Even if they scrapped it, they've probably had an STC for it somewhere. And that's the thing, the Mechanicus has so much scope. Like, I'm using a wider camera today and my screen is so much wider, and that's like the Mechanicus. It's so much wide scope to aim at. You can do whatever you like. And it's easy to have Titans attached, or smaller versions of Titans. Like, I come back to Land Leviathans. I don't know how big they are, but they would be quite good. You can have repair units, repair bots type thing. And that's the thing. I'm running out of steam here, but there are so many things you can do, and that's just me throwing ideas out. It would be a supplemental dex, i.e. Militarum Tempestus, i.e. Inquisition. It wouldn't be a full codex, but it could do so much, and it would satisfy so many of the community who absolutely love the AdMech, as they are known online, the Adeptus Mechanicus, and want to see them expanded upon and used in games. Yes, you have the 30k Mechanicum, but that's designed around the Horus Heresy rule set where everything is super powerful. And so the Mechanicum Codex doesn't quite carry into 40k because it's slightly too OP, even though the stuff in there is amazing. So, message 1 to GW, if you can do this, please, we'd like an Adeptus Mechanicus Codex, or I would, personally. If you want to do a Kickstarter for it, and I have the funds, I'll happily help you do it. Hell, I'll come in and write down in Nottingham if you like. I'll come down from Yorkshire and write for you if you like. Second things to you. What would you think of a Mechanicus Codex? Would you play it? Would you play against it? Would you think it's too OP? Or do you just pay a hefty price tag like you do on Grey Knights? And I also want to hear about other codices that you could think of, like other factions that could be done. Like Squats used to have a codex that got scrapped. Harud, which are like Skaven, they got scrapped after a while. But are there any other factions within 40k you would like to see as a codex? Be it a supplemental thing, such as the Blood Crusade, or some Cornate thing, or possibly, I'm trying to think, possibly the Exodite Eldar. That's a good example. The Exodites could have a codex. Just throw suggestions in the comments of any factions you think would be really cool to have a codex. Possibly, if you guys get back to me with some good ideas, I might take them to Daka Daka and we'll thrash some ideas out on there, and if it comes to something, I will add the threads into this video, and I will do sort of a part 2 if we get anywhere and we can develop the codices further, and then again I'll put them out to you guys and you can suggest some things or whatever, or you can email me. My email is in the about section for business inquiries, or you can go over to Facebook if you want to write something a little bit longer, or go over to Twitter. I'll probably be sharing links on there, and we'll just see how it goes, really. So, The power is in your hands, folks. Go right ahead. The comments is down there. Use them. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and leave any comments down below, as I've already stated. And I hope that we can make something of this. Hopefully we can get something going and we can check back in later on. So thank you for watching. My name is Michael, and I will see you again.